It's Midwest Ghost Hunters Dark Matter at Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri.
Please like, share, and comment on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps us out dramatically.
I realize that, and you guys may or may not know this, I had no idea. If you have any smart TV, you don't even have to have a Roku account. You can load the Roku app onto your TV, and there's a live TV option on there. On that live TV option, there is some truly live TV on there, but the rest of it's just channels. And they've got like 9 paranormal channels on there. There's one that's like Haunt TV, one that's called like Ghosts Are Real. Ghost Hunters has its own channel. So you can load this the Roku app and you can watch any of these channels. I mean, like Paranormal not Witness, Caught on Camera has its own channel. Paranormal Witness is probably on there too. All you have to do is just load the app and look. Anyway, I was watching this show. Ghost Adventures it was comprised of mainly 3 members when it started. It was Zach, Nick, and then Aaron. Is his name Aaron, that big bald guy? I believe his name was Aaron. When they split up, I guess they really didn't split up so much as Nick Groff is his name, split off of Ghost Adventures and created his own thing. But I was watching his show called Paranormal Lockdown, where they lock themselves in these paranormal places. And, you know, the premise of the show is pretty good. And I had never seen or didn't even know if I'd ever even heard of the damn show before either. But I was watching it, and I realized as it got going that Nick, the guy who was once in Ghost Adventures, has now, he hung out with that fucking Zach for too long. Because now, everywhere Nick goes, he hears ghosts saying his fucking name.
Well, that's his stick.
And that's what Zach always did. That's the same thing Zach did, is he would hear ghosts saying his name. And they'll replay this, what is that little device called? The Frank's box type thing. They'll replay it, and it's like, I don't hear anything in that fucking thing, but he hears his name all the fucking time. I don't know. I didn't care for his show. I don't know if it was ever even popular. The only thing that apparently that Nick has in common with me is a shared hatred for Zach Baggins now. But I was letting you guys know, because you can load the Roku app and you can watch all these paranormal shows, for free. It's completely free. Anyway, we have a guest on the podcast today. Kenzie had emailed us talking about some of her paranormal activity that she has experienced, and I wanted to refresh myself on it before we got you on the phone here, but I decided not to because I kind of wanted to go in a little bit cold and just kind of have you tell us what's happened with you. What kind of paranormal experience have you ran into?
Last, I think it was August or September, we went to this abandoned workhouse in Kansas City, because that's where I'm from. I had just gotten this Ouija board, and I was like, oh, it's a great time to try it out because I've never tried it out. I'm not going to do it by myself because you're not supposed to.
Right.
And I was like, you guys down to do the Ouija board? And they're like, hell yeah, we're down to do the Ouija board. So we went to this abandoned workhouse down in Kansas City, and
I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you just pick a random warehouse, or did you pick somewhere that the people had said activity had occurred before?
So the guy that I was living with at the time said that it was active in some way, but we didn't ask any questions. We were like, oh, that's cool, let's go.
Oh, okay.
And I did some research on this place after the fact, and I figured out that it had been a prison, and the inmates were brutally neglected and abused, and then it was used as a trafficking ground, then it was used as a dog euthanasia clinic.
Oh, wow.
And so it has
off to a good start here.
Oh, no. It was built in 1897. It was abandoned in 1972. So it had almost a good 100 years out of it, but now it's eroded. It's just kind of crumbling down. So we went there. He was trying to summon, he had a close member that had just passed away, so he was trying to get her, but it sounded like her, but I don't think it was her, because I'm an empath, so I can pick up really easily on energies and vibes and all of that good stuff, and it didn't feel like a wife or like a wife that had just passed away. Okay. It didn't feel like her.
Who was it that you think that you heard, or who I kind of got a little lost there? Who was it that you think you heard the voice of or saw? Who was the person?
I'm not sure, because I couldn't find records of any inmates that had passed there.
Who was he
But
trying?
I know
Who was
for
he?
sure
Who was he trying to get again? Was it his?
it was his wife that had passed away.
Oh, okay,
Year
gotcha.
before. Yeah, and so it wasn't her. I can say that for certain.
And did you guys actually hear something out loud?
I was not doing it, and one of my friends was not doing it. It was the guy that I was living with at the time and another friend that was doing it.
Okay.
We chickened out on doing it, but we watched them the whole time. And apparently, so we had the guy that I was living with was facing away from the building because across the street there were tables because there's a winery brewery right there.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl that was doing it with him was facing opposite of him. And so they saw a figure on top of the building whenever they were in the middle of it. They only turned back because the guy had said that he felt something watching him. So he turned back to look at the castle or the workhouse, and he seen a figure standing on top of the building, and he jumped, and we're like, what's going on? Why are you jumping? And he took it, they both took their hands off the planchette, which is also a big no-no, without saying goodbye first. And apparently the girl had seen it too, but me and the other girl were like, no, we don't see anything. They were like, oh my God, it's freezing out here. And I'm like, it's the middle of the end of summer. It's not really that cold. I took off my jacket because I was hot. And then they turned around, kept doing it. And then apparently he had felt a hand on his shoulder, and he turned around again. Obviously there was nothing there.
And they're not in the building, right?
No, we were across the street. I'd say about half a football field away.
Okay.
So we were a little bit of a distance away. But they ended up wrapping it up, and then they went over there and decided, oh, we're gonna go explore it to see, if it's a squatter or if it's actually something paranormal that we seen. Obviously it wasn't, anybody that was squatting there because there's not really anywhere stable to squat in there. So it was obviously something paranormal that they seen.
So they went inside the building to look around a little bit?
Yeah, they went inside to explore.
Did you go inside too?
I did not. I was not about that. I was like, you guys just seen a figure here and you guys are about to go inside.
What did they describe the figure looking like? Did they say?
They said it was a taller man. They didn't really describe what he looked like because it was just a shadow.
Who did they think it was?
I'm not sure. I think they thought it was just someone random.
So I guess so when you say when you refer to them, doing what they were doing out in front of the building or a little bit away from the front of the building, what they were doing was using a Ouija board. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Did they get any responses on the board itself?
They did. They got a lot of responses. Okay. And it was a high energy. It was answering immediately. It was moving pretty, not fast like the movies fast, but in between what would actually happen and the movies. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they were getting a lot of responses.
Had you ever used would this have been your first time using a Ouija board, or had you done that before?
That was my first time using it.
Well, Ouija boards are kind of one of the things we're a little divided on amongst this group here. I personally don't think that they're a good idea to play around with because I don't think that we understand enough about what you're doing. And I mean, just in general, I don't personally think they're a good idea to play around with. Other people just view them as just kind of monopoly boards, and so they don't really think it's a big deal at all. So continue on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's not something to play around with at all. If you're serious in doing your investigations and that's the only thing that you have and you're going into it with that mindset that it's not a game, I think that's a good idea. But I think that night we really went and thought of it as a game, and that's why there was an attachment that happened that night.
Since that night, have you had any paranormal activity that you have experienced since this night?
Yeah, so I was living with the guy, and so I noticed there was a different vibe and energy in the house than what was the energy and the vibe in the house before we went, and I didn't exactly piece together the pieces until recently. Actually, I was like, oh, that's weird. But I had a lot of things happen with my car. We've had a lot of things happen with the house, and just I would look at him and I would see his shadow, and then sometimes I would catch a glimpse of another shadow with him. And it wasn't the lighting. It wasn't. I tested the lighting. I'd see it whenever we were out places, or whenever he would just walk through, he would go through multiple different lightings, and it would always be two shadows with him.
Have you caught anything on video, on photos of anything, any audio of it?
So I didn't think about it, and so I didn't, because at that point I was a believer, but I had like kind of strayed away from it a little bit, and now I'm back to my 10 out of 10 believability, because I grew up in a haunted house.
Okay, we'll have to circle back to
that. Yeah, I just casually said I grew up in a haunted house.
That's a little bit of a gloss over thing that we'll need to cover a little bit more.
But we actually went to another place that night after that. After they wrapped up that session, we ended up going to this park, which I'm not going to say the name because we might have had to trespass to get there. Right. But we went there, we did it there too, the Ouija board, and this time we were all doing it, and there's like a wooded area that you can walk out. It overlooks the river that's downtown. Mm-hmm. We seen this guy come out of the woods that was over there, and he was smoking the cigarette. Now, there weren't any cars in the parking lot besides ours, which, I mean, he could have walked, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So it would have been a strange, like, how did you get here thing?
Right.
And he walked out and he was smoking a cigarette, but whenever he would take a drag off of the cigarette, it wouldn't light up his face. And it was at night. It wouldn't light up his face like a normal, like, if you took it, drag off the cigarette would. And he was sitting maybe 30 feet away from us and literally just watching. And whenever we like looked over and seen that he was there, he kind of just walked back up the hill towards the parking lot, just kind of disappeared. Like no traces, like there was no cars in the parking lot that he could have walked to. And again, it's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, and there's not really places around that you could just walk to.
Right. Well, that's interesting.
So we were like, and we were like,
I was noticing in your email that you sent originally that you are you thinking about doing like investigations or something, because you were asking about equipment?
Yeah, I am thinking about doing it. I have a friend that is also very empathic, and we were talking and we were thinking about starting to investigate once we get the proper equipment, obviously, and not just the Ouija board.
Did you have specific questions about like what equipment we recommend, or I didn't want to completely read the email while we're sitting here talking to you, but I just saw you had asked briefly about equipment used.
Yeah.
Or do you have an idea of what kind of equipment you're looking to get?
I do. I have a list on Amazon that I'm thinking about getting for now until I can actually get the good high-end equipment. But I have like REM pods, I have EMF readers, I have a spirit box on there, just different things that you would use like for just like surface level, not really like diving super deep into it.
One of the things I would recommend you do is to invest in a really good audio recorder. Tascam makes some, Zoom has some that are good and some that are not. H1N from Zoom, those are good. Or if you go back to the old school H1s, if you find some of those used, those are great recorders. You can do some of the Tascam handheld recorders. Those are going to be a little bit more expensive, but not, I mean, maybe $100, $150, something like that. I really recommend getting a really good audio recorder in there as something you guys would have.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So
yeah, audio is going to be a big piece, and in the meantime, you can always use the recorder on your phone. It'll work pretty well too.
And one of the things I always do is if you're somebody who is sensitive, or that you believe that you can sense things and things of that nature, I always use a lot of caution in doing any sort of investigation for people like that. None of our group really believes that they have that ability, curse, gift, whatever you want to call it. So we really go into every investigation 100% neutral. I think that if you are somebody that is sensitive to that sort of stuff, I really would take a long, hard look at that sort of thing, because you don't want to get into any sort of attachments or things like that you would be more prone to than people who do not have that,
or figure out a way to put that on pause, or
something. And I don't know enough about it to tell you, because we don't have that. I mean, there's been people that will say they are psychic or have abilities or empaths or whatever. We just do not have that. So for people that say they do, I would just be a little cautious about going into those sort of situations, because you don't know what's going to follow you out of there.
Yeah, which is why I've been kind of working. I do a lot of like sage cleansings and tarot, and I've just been always like that, where I have literally, whenever we got done and we like friendship ended with the guy, and I was like, my car feels negative, and so I cleansed it with sage, and I had to do a few rounds of that before it was fully not negative energy in it anymore.
We've never really been the big cleansing people ourselves, other than, you know, I mean, like we clean our cars out and stuff like that, but that's about as far as our cleansing sort of situation goes. But if your partner that you're looking at doing this with is also, I don't know, sensitive, or I don't know what the right word is here, if they also are somebody who feels things, I would just use a lot of caution in going into those sort of situations there, because of you're going to view things differently when you go into those, and you will also I think there's a greater chance of having an attachment or something like that in those sort of situations than if you're somebody like us who just doesn't have that. That doesn't apply to us.
Yeah.
So I would just, I don't know who you said you had a partner that you're looking at maybe doing this with. Do they have that ability as well?
I don't think he does to the extent that I do. Like, yes, he can tell that something's there, but he can't like feel like, oh, it's sad, or it's, you know, happy that we're here, or it's like we need to get out of here. I just think it's more of he can sense those things, because I think he also grew up in a haunted house, if I'm not mistaken.
Wanted to cycle back to that.
Yeah, let's spend some time back on here. Let's go back to this sort of thing here. Tell us about your childhood. Tell us about the paranormal experiences that you had growing up.
I grew up in a haunted house in elementary school. We moved whenever I went to middle school. It was a very, very historic house that was kind of off of like a historical square.
Is this in Kansas City as well?
Yes.
Okay.
But it was almost like it was a very old house, like the basement, never been in the basement because it was literally flooded. It was caving in. It had a lot of history with it. Mm-hmm. And so it was to the point where growing up, I would not sleep in my own room. Like, I literally slept with my brother because we had our own rooms. I refused to sleep in my room. My parents wouldn't let me sleep in their room, so I slept in my brother's room all growing up, because there was something that was there. I don't know what it was, but there was something that was there that was making that specific room feel like it didn't want anybody in there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to like explain that to my mom, you know, growing up. It was just something where I think I spent one night in the room and I ran out crying.
Did you actually see anything like things get moved, shadow figures, voices, anything like that in that house? A
lot of the time there would be voices that all of us heard, like we would hear each other like saying each other's names, and there would be literally nobody in the house. And so you'd be like, oh, because it had an upstairs room, and so we're like, oh, is somebody in that room? And so we go up there and nobody was there. It was a very traumatic childhood, which I don't know if like the spirits kind of try to play into that or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only box you hadn't really checked on so far, so you pretty well covered it all. So
was anybody else in the house also scared, or was that limited? You know, were you the only one?
As far as I could tell, I was the only one, because I had an older brother, older sister, and then my parents that were living there as well. And nobody really was scared of anything there, like noticed anything happening. And I'm like, literally, like I would hear like knocks and stuff from the laundry room, and I'd go out there and nothing was there, or like I'd hear stuff, I'd be able to like maybe out in the corner of my eye like see something move, and you know, that would freak me out. And it was just to the point where I was like, I am not sleeping in my own room. Like, I think I was only in there to watch a movie with my sister whenever we were moving in, then to sleep there like the first night. And then after that, I was like, nope, I am not sleeping in here.
How soon you guys wanted to jump into this ghost hunting, paranormal investigation type thing? Are you thinking about doing it in a year? Or are you wanting to start pretty quickly? What's your goal there?
I'd say within the next year.
Are you guys also local? Are you in Kansas City, or?
I am not in Kansas City. My friend is in Kansas City.
Okay. You don't have to say where you are specifically. I just didn't know I mean, we have people, call us on the podcast from all over the world, really.
We had Spain one time.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if you were like like in the state of Missouri or whatever.
I'm like an hour from you guys, so I'm not too far.
One of the things that I would suggest you do before you jump wholeheartedly into this sort of a thing, there are actual public ghost hunts or ghost tours that you can jump on, and you can kind of get a little bit of a feel for what's there. They do them here at Pythian Castle.
That's why I was asking, where she was. I was going to suggest, the Missouri Pen or Pythian Castle or something just to wet your beak a little bit.
We went on the state penitentiary. I've been on the state penitentiary ghost tour. And while I was on that ghost tour, now keep in mind that if you're doing any sort of a big public event, it is almost impossible to gather any sort of information because you can't tell if the "hey, I'm over here" is somebody or if that's an entity. So you're not going to be able to gather anything, but you're going to feel a little bit of an experience. While I was on the paranormal tour at the Missouri State Pen, I looked up and I saw a shadow figure step out of one of the top cells on the very top level. So I went up there to look around and see there was nothing up there. So I'm going to say that was probably a pretty accurate paranormal experience. But you and your partner could do those kind of things there, or Pythian Castle or anything, just to kind of get an idea before you get too heavily involved, to see if that's something you want to do. That's something I would recommend you guys do.
Yeah, I've been looking up places to go, and like if they have a guided tour, go on the guided tour. I've been like doing some research on that.
But one of the things that I would definitely recommend you do immediately is to get the handheld recorders. Those things are phenomenal. It will mean a lot more to your investigation to come out of it with something that you can show people. It's one thing if I say, I saw a shadow figure over there. And it's another thing if I can show you video of the shadow figure that I have. Or, hey, Chris, I just heard something in this room. We run the recorder back and we've caught it. That's the sort of stuff that I would look at. And audio is the cheapest way to do that. And that's where I always recommend people start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably lean into, like John said, lean into things that can actually, you can present to someone after following your investigation. Here's what here's a recording of what we heard. Here's what we saw. And you probably know this, probably less of the Ouija board type stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, feelings are great if you've got that and you've got a sixth sense and you can sense something in the room and all of that. That's fantastic. I mean, we've got Dustin's that way with our group. I mean, he can sense things. Yeah. But, like Chris and I, we really can't sense anything. So we have to rely on recorders and things of that nature to be able to show things. So that's what I would look at doing.
Dustin really can't sense anything.
No, Dustin can't sense anything at all. But I just threw that out there. If you can, that's great. You've kind of got an advantage on the other people in the room, because you can actually feel something that's there. And then the next step is to find a way to be able to prove that to people who are non-believers. One of the great parts about our group was when we first started off, we actually had aggressive non-believers in this, who people that they truly had to be shown, here's the audio of that. I was one of those guys. That you've got to show me the audio before I'm gonna bite into that, and then you're going to have to try to debunk it. What else could this be? And that's really kind of the most unfun thing about the ghost investigation, other than not catching anything, is, you've been out, if you've been out all night and you've run audio and you and your partner have got, hours and hours and hours of audio, you sit there and you listen to it, you finally find this one thing that you think, oh, that's fantastic, is then to come back in and say, okay, well, it could actually be this, and then you have to throw it out. That's not a lot of fun, but it's part of the game that you'll play.
And make sure you like the person you're doing this with.
Yes, that's the other thing that's very important.
At least someone that you can hang out with and have fun on a boring night, because many of these things you're going to find that you go do are quite boring.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a very good point, because you are, you're going to be, there's going to be more nights that you don't catch things than nights that you do. I think if you have an ability to sense things in a room and so on and so forth, that might give you an idea of the room that you really want to focus on. In general, for us, the rule is it's the room that we didn't put all the stuff in.
Yeah.
That's always the most active rule. But we don't have that ability. We don't have an ability to sense anything.
Yeah. Yeah, me and him are definitely the type to literally, I'm like, hey, you free? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, great, I'm picking you up. And he's like, okay, I don't know what we're doing, but we'll find something.
Okay.
Yeah,
but that's what I would
our
recommend you
friends-
guys do. I would recommend getting the audio recorders, and if you guys could both get one, that's ideal, and that way you would each have one to carry. And then I would start with the guided tours. There's going to be some stuff. There's a place there in Kansas City that does these things too, isn't it?
They're all over. I can't even think.
Is it the Limp?
That's in St. Louis.
So it's that's St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay. But there will be some place in Kansas City as well. But the Missouri State Pen is incredibly active. It's incredibly active. Also, Pythian Castle is loaded. I mean, this is like fishing in a stocked pond down here. So, I mean, if you want to catch stuff, they do ghost tours here all the time.
All right, I'll definitely keep that in mind and get with him on that.
If you guys have any questions along the way, if you need any help, input, or whatever, just reach out and get in touch with us.
All right, yeah, I definitely will.
Okay, well, thank you for telling us your paranormal experiences, Kenzie. We really appreciate it. Is there anything else?
No, not that I can think of right now.
All right, well, let us know if you need anything.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Kenzie, thanks for being on the podcast today and sharing your experiences and plans for the future. Get in touch with us if you have any other questions. I wanted to make another call to people, podcast listeners, especially those in the state of Missouri, about our Route 66 plans for the summer.
Yes.
I'm still looking, constantly trying to narrow down where we need to go, because we're going to do this. What is it? The 100th?
It's the 100th anniversary of Route 60.
Okay, yeah. So
66.
And then a lot of groups were doing like a Route 66 challenge and different things, and we were just trying to find a good stretch of that.
I sent you a couple of them from
I got
Kelly.
those.
But I think that all of those would be ideas that we should probably go look at before we just roll out with a group.
Yeah, if anybody has any part of Route 66 that you know of that's got some kind of history, paranormal stuff happening with it, email us and let us know about it. Contact at mwghosthunters.com. I was reading about this article real quick. It's in the New York Post, and it just came out. The headline is "Woman Says Near-Death Experience Gave Her Paranormal Powers."
Now, does she mean that she can see?
Yeah, that's what I wondered too. What the fuck paranormal powers meant. So she overdosed on a drug that was laced with something else. So it was she overdosed on, I don't even know, it doesn't even say, and went into cardiac arrest, and then she technically died. Almost.
I've heard all kinds of stories about people in ambulances that have died over the years that were brought back, but they could see paramedics working on them. They could see things in the ambulance. I've heard those kind of stories.
Well, that's kind of what she says here, and she describes the experience itself. The moment that it happened, she said, slipping into the near-death experience, she shot up into the sky like a character punched by Popeye.
Okay, well, that's better to be going up than down.
And...
So I'll give her that. She's doing something right.
She landed on a new land where her body slipped away, and she was able to fly and see her past ancestors.
I have heard stories about people that would pass away, and then they could have an out-of-body experience. You saw a lot of those things on the old Unsolved Mysteries and stuff like that, where this person would, they would die and then they would see paramedics working on them, or they would see the room in the hospital where people were working on them and they're supposedly standing there. And I've heard stories about that. And I've also heard stories from nurses who work with hospice patients. And they always say that 3 to 4 weeks after they start seeing family members that have passed away, that they themselves, that the person would pass away. So I've heard those kind of stories before.
What happens to your brain when you die?
I know a little bit about, kind of.
It releases a cocktail of chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Neurotransmitters,
one of which is DMT. So when you die, you are going to see some shit. It's going to be like tripping shrooms for the last 5 minutes of your life.
Well, that part makes sense. But explain this, Dustin.
Okay.
Since she came back, she can now predict people's deaths, and she can see and communicate with dead people.
Prove it.
Well,
put a video up and talk to a dead person, have them do something. That's the thing, if people want to believe in that kind of thing, more power to you. People believe in dumber things.
Of course.
I'm going to probably have to see some evidence.
I don't know. She doesn't really go into much detail either in this, so.
Because people who say they can read minds and stuff, it's funny because every time someone says that, I always think the dumbest thing, and they never mention it.
Well, she says that she was able to predict the deaths of several people that were close by. Anyway, while she was flying through the air after she died, she heard a voice yell to her that you can't stay, you're not done yet. And she woke up to the club's bartender performing CPR on her.
See, and those are the kind of stories. Those are the kind of stories that you find on those old television shows from the 1980s, where the out of body experience is immediately followed by all of a sudden they're brought back, and they say that they actually could see people working on them on all those old TV shows. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what. That was usually pretty common.
Nobody doing CPR is doing any of the bullshit Hollywood movie stuff. They're not going, come back.
No,
I'm going to get you back.
They weren't. She wasn't implying that person. I think she was implying that something else was saying.
Yeah, something in the ether told her you can't stay. You're not done on Earth. You've got stuff.
It wasn't like the CPR person like banging on the chest. Live, damn it, live. It wasn't like
that doesn't happen.
I know. It's not what happened. I think she's saying that.
Yeah, she's saying she heard a voice, wherever she was, telling her she had to come back. She couldn't stay
Gabriel
there.
told her to come back to Earth.
Oh, that's fucking stupid. I've had a near-death experience. I don't know if you guys remember that or not.
Are you talking about a year ago?
No, your tick
or
thing.
When you were. That's what I was asking.
No.
Or when you were young.
Your lawnmower
Younger,
thing?
yeah. It's just, I remember the out of body experience portion, but it was just like,
I think that's just like trauma.
being above myself, looking down,
Right. Okay, that's what they're talking about.
and then there was nothingness.
Kind of like what happened before you were born.
I don't remember.
Right. That's what's going to happen when you die.
I was still dead. Well, she says...
It's peaceful, to be honest with you.
She says once
the void is calling to me.
Once you die, you're going to shoot into the air like you've been punched by motherfucking Popeye.
Well,
Post spinach.
if things
spinach.
if
yes.
things go well, you're going to get
Did you hear
knocked
that?
out.
By the way,
True.
did you hear right before I said post spinach? There was something.
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, mark it.
Yeah, post spinach Popeye is going to knock the fuck out of you.
Post.
Well,
post spinach Popeye punch.
You know how when you're asleep, and going back to the CPR thing, you know how when you're asleep and you have the TV playing a little too loud, and what's said on the TV can influence your dreams?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Could be. Yeah, it could be.
It's possible.
I mean, like I said, your brain is a fucking just a mess of chemicals.
Your
at
brain's
that
a
point.
mess of chemicals.
When you're dying, it's like a last ditch effort to make you feel comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get that, but I mean, I've also heard stories from...
And that's why different cultures with different religions report different types of near-death experiences. You know, if you're Hindu, you see Buddha. If you're religious like Christianity here, you see Jesus. Your brain is just making yourself feel more comfortable with what you know. For me, I hope it's just a goddamn just nothingness and quiet.
from
Just
what,
some peace.
Just some peace.
the things I've always heard from the hospice nurses and again, I'm just watching them online, and I've never actually sat down and talked to a real hospice nurse about this, but they say that about 4 weeks before a person goes ahead and passes away, they begin to see family members. And she says, and I know you're saying that it's the drugs and everything else. She says, I'm telling you, it's not, because they're not on a lot of them at this point in time. And that when they start seeing that, you can get out a calendar, and it's about 4 weeks until they pass away. Now, I don't know. Is that just coincidence? I have no idea.
I'm still leaning towards, because DMT is a very powerful
The white
hallucinogen.
light during near-death experiences is generally believed by scientists to be a psychological hallucination caused by a surge of activity in the dying brain, particularly in the visual cortex, as oxygen supply diminishes.
And that could be. I mean, it could be. I don't know, but I can tell you see a lot of the same sort of scenarios there.
Often accompanied by feelings of immense peace, warmth, and detachment.
Because you never hear of like a Christian having a near-death experience and then talking to Buddha.
No, yeah, you're right. I was just...
That's true, but it's also you're going to be speaking.
I was trying to look it up.
If you go down that road though, and you say that that's exactly what's happening, what they're calling Jesus or Buddha or whatever, that's just their way of relating what that being is. They could all be seeing the same sort of being.
The DMT you're talking about is dimethyltryptamine. That's what I was looking up. Once you mentioned it, I was trying to think, what is its primary role? Because it does do that. It's a psychedelic neurotransmitter.
To fuck you up.
Well, it doesn't really have a biological primary role. It just kind of sits there.
I think its primary role is probably to do exactly that when you die.
It could be. That's what I was trying to figure out. It's a serotonin. It's kind of related to the serotonin stuff, that can lead to depression and whatnot. But it doesn't really get released into the body to do anything. That's what I was trying to figure out. We can research that on our own time and maybe come back with more information.
That's a very interesting way to...
It produces intense hallucinations.
It's an interesting way to describe being shot up.
Popeye?
The Popeye punch. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's better to be going up than going down.
And then, because, if you can get Popeye punch, or you can get post-spinach Popeye punch up, or you could get Andre the Giant body slammed down.
You don't want that.
Either way, you're dead.
Either way, I'm going to be very surprised if it happens to me.
What are you going to be thinking?
I will admit I was wrong the whole time.
When you fly through the air.
On my way up?
Yep.
I don't know, man. I'm going to have to do some reevaluating of some things.
All right. Well, if we wanted to again thank Kenzie for being on the podcast earlier. If anybody else has any experiences they wanted to share, they can get it. You can get in touch with us. Just email us, contact@mwghosthunters.com.
More Dark Matter next week from Pythian Castle in Springfield, Missouri with Midwest Ghost Hunters.